Hello and welcome to another episode of Come Back Stronger, where we bring you stories from people who have overcome injuries, obstacles, and setbacks and have come back stronger. And today I am joined by my law partner, Dana Brooks. I'm Jimmy Fasig, and we're going to bring you the story of Lori Alhadeff. It is a tragic story. Lori lost her 14-year-old daughter in a school shooting in South Florida, and it is one of the worst, most painful things that a human being can suffer. But she has taken that pain and turned it into a purpose. She has become an activist. She has changed the law. She's an incredibly impressive woman. Dana, what do you think of Lori?
Yeah, her loss has become her mission. I heard her when she was in Tallahassee speaking in support of some legislation she wanted to introduce and get passed that would allow someone from inside of a school to be able to access law enforcement and get them there right away instead of the traditional everybody calling 911, overlaying the circuits, that sort of thing. What's interesting about her is that this terrible tragedy at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglass school in South Florida, she lost her daughter, but it's informed her life's work now. She's turned that into a mission. So she's gotten herself, like you said, elected to the school board. She's passed legislation. She's passed it at the national level, and she is working within the confines of what we are able to do in this country right now with regard to any sort of gun control. She knows that that's kind of a closed door to a large respects, and she's decided to pivot and try to go in another door. So she's very innovative in her approach. She's seems like she's trying to be more of a consensus builder and actually get some things done to make our children safer in the place that we would love to go with them and protect them every day that we can, and that's the school where they go to get educated, and you think they're safe, and we know now that they're not, so she's trying to change that. Yeah, she's had to suffer through one of the greatest tragedies a human being could ever suffer, and but she has really turned it into something where she is trying to make a difference in the world, trying to make the world a better place, and to use the pain that she's gone through to do that. So we're going to hear the first part of her interview after this commercial break. And you know what the insurance company offered him? $5,000. Really? He's completely blind, and they offer him $5,000. Ask him to sign a release.
To a lot of people, especially when they're hurting and when they're down and when they're vulnerable, $5,000 is a life-changing amount of money. And they're not looking at the value of what has been lost. They're not looking at what it would take to make that person whole, which is our job. That's our job. Their job isn't. Their job is to save the insurance company money. And they look at this person and they go, I bet $5,000 would get your full attention. And they come in and they dangle it with a settlement release, and then once you sign it, you're done. You can't come back to us and ask us to wave a magic wand and make that go away. That can't go away.
My client didn't accept the $5,000. We took him all the way to trial. We got a $5 million verdict. Welcome back to Come Back Stronger, where we're going to introduce you to Lori Alhadeff, who lost her 14-year-old daughter in a school shooting and has become a political activist, is now a member of the school board, has changed the law, has made real differences in the world so that to try to prevent other people from having to suffer what she's gone through. This is the first part of her interview with Kimmy Hogan.
Ms. Alhadeff, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me here.
We appreciate you coming on to share the story of the loss of your daughter, Alyssa, at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglass shooting back in 2018, and about all the good work that you've been doing since that time to try to make our schools safer. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Tell us about Alyssa.
Alyssa was beautiful, vivacious, 14-year-old girl. She loved shopping, hanging out with boys on the beach. She loved reading, math, debate, and she just was so amazing, so special, and I miss her so much.
This is a parent's worst nightmare, what you've been through. I know that since the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglass in 2018, you have been working tirelessly to try to get changes made at the state and federal level to try to protect students in schools. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that work that you've been doing.
So after the tragedy, my husband and we started a nonprofit organization called Make Our Schools Safe. And our focus is to get Alyssa's Law, which is a panic button in schools directly linked to law enforcement. So if there is a life-threatening emergency situation, we want to empower teachers to push a button on their phone, and it's being directly linked to law enforcement. So law enforcement can pull up their cameras, get eyes on the scene, and to be able to direct the police officers of where to go and what's going on. And we know that mass notification in a life-threatening emergency will save lives. On February 14th, 2018, when the shooting was happening, I texted my daughter, Alyssa. I told her to run and hide, that help was on the way. Unfortunately, that help was delayed and they did not get to Alyssa in time. Another piece of federal legislation that I'm actively trying to get passed with legislators is called the Safer Schools Act, HR 2717. And this act would allow schools to do a risk assessment of their school. And then based on its vulnerabilities, they could then apply for federal funding to fix those issues and problems. Like, for example, they might not have fencing for a single point of entry, or they might need a panic button for mass notification. So if you can please reach out to your congressmen and congresswomen to co-sponsor the Safer Schools Act.
And so the Safer Schools Act is at the federal level. And when did you start pushing to try to get that passed?
So we've been working on that for about a year now. Okay. And like I said, it's a federal piece of legislation. We want to see Alyssa's law as a standard level of school safety protection in every school across the country, just like we have our fire alarm pull stations. Now, every school will have their panic button so that they can communicate effectively in a life-threatening emergency situation. And it's not just a active shooter situation. It also could be a medical situation, which we have every day in our schools.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this panic button, is this something that would be a physical button like next to a fire alarm, or could it also be something that teachers are required to have, like an application on their phone?
So definitely it can be a hardwired button on the wall. It could be an app on a teacher's phone. It could be a badge that the teacher wears around their neck and pushes in that life-threatening emergency situation.
Yeah. So Alyssa's law was passed in Florida. Was that in 2021?
2021.
Okay. And have you started seeing the schools implement changes to comply with Alyssa's law?
Yeah, so schools were supposed to start at the beginning of last school year to be in compliance with Alyssa's law, to have their panic buttons in place for last school year.
It's really smart legislation, and I thank you so much for doing the work to get that passed. I'd like to talk to you about more of your personal experience. On this show, we talk with people about their comeback stories and what they do when faced with a horrific tragedy like your family was, how they get the strength to pick up the pieces and keep moving forward. Will you talk to us a little bit about that?
So on February 14th, I received a text message saying shots fired in Stoneman Douglass High School, kids running and jumping the fence. And immediately in that moment of time, I just had this sense of loss that came over my body. And when I look back on it, I feel like that was the point in time that I started to fight for my daughter, Alyssa. And unfortunately, Alyssa died in that shooting. But I turned my pain and grief into action. And I say that I'm Alyssa's voice. And I want to make sure that Alyssa didn't die in vain. And I also want to make sure that we learn from the mistakes that happened that led up to the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglass High School. And so for that reason, as one of the reasons why I ran for the school board of Broward County, so I knew that in order for me to make an impact, to make change, that I need to have a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm. And you ran in 2018 and you were elected.
Yes.
And you are running again this time around, is that correct?
Correct.
Wonderful. Have you seen a lot of changes in the school system in your area since that time?
Absolutely. Not only in Broward County Public Schools that there's been a lot of changes for school safety, but at a state level, we helped pass the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act after the shooting in 2018, that it allowed a lot of different safety measures for schools to go into place in the whole state of Florida. We just continuing to layer in different school safety protections. School safety is not a one and done. Yeah. We need to make sure that once we implement something, we need to have checks and balances to make sure that the safety measures are followed with fidelity across the entire school district.
Absolutely. With Alyssa's law that was passed in Florida, are there provisions that follow up on the schools to make sure that they are complying with that law?
So there is what's called the Florida Office of Safe Schools, and this was put in place after 2018. And so the Office of Safe Schools, they do random checks at schools. Well, they'll go and check on the school safety measures, make sure that Alyssa's law is in place and that the schools are following the important safety measures to help keep their schools safer.
That's great. We're going to go to a commercial break, but we'll be right back with you.
Wonderful.
Talk about somebody that turned her pain into action.
Immediately.
And that was the big takeaway for me. One of the things that I always say is if you're feeling depressed, if you're going through grief, if you're going through especially like some severe, horrible grief, a lot of times it does help to try to help other people.
Help somebody else.
It helps somebody else. That can take the focus off of yourself, and it'll help you process through your own pain as well.
And it gets you that good feedback that, I do have something left here to do. My life is not over now because I've experienced this horrible tragedy. Because I can understand why someone would lose hope and lose any sense of optimism because it's a sentence. It's a grief sentence. It's like this is everything else you experience the rest of your life, you're going to see it through this filter, through this prism, and that's and I can't change that. So just the fact that she is willing and able to stay so focused and stay so driven. But boy, it really hit me in the gut whenever she said when she just heard shots were fired, she knew. It's like a mother's intuition. She's like, I got to start fighting for my little girl right now today. Well, honestly, probably while she's still alive. And I just cannot even conceive of that. Yeah. But something told her to do it. And Mama's intuition, believe me.
But I'll tell you what was born of it is this creativity and this drive and this passion for making positive changes in the school system. And that can only come from somebody that is driven from the inside. Like this is a major drive for her,
that.
right?
That's why I am very encouraged that there are people like that who are willing to come and speak to legislators because believe it or not, they do want to hear from people. They want to know. They haven't experienced everything you have. They only know their perspective. So come up here, be active in your government. If you want to see change, be a part of making it happen. So she's one of those people.
Well, we are going to go to a commercial break, so when we come back, we're going to hear the second part of the interview. To me, Come Back Stronger is about starting the case with a plan and with a goal of not just to get back to where you were, but to actually move forward in your life. When an insurance company sees that you've been hurt and you've been in an accident and you've got medical bills, you've got pain and suffering, you have property damage to your vehicle, you are at a very low point in your life. And what an insurance company will do is they will try to take advantage of you. They might show up at your door with a check for $500 to try to get you to sign on the bottom line.
They'll show up at the hospital.
They'll show up at the hospital. They'll tell you not to get an attorney. They will do anything they can to save the insurance company money. And if you hire a lawyer and come back stronger, then you are going to be dealing with them on a level playing field. Welcome back to Come Back Stronger, where we are introducing you to Lori Alhadeff, who has suffered the tragedy of the loss of her 14-year-old daughter in a school shooting in South Florida. And she has taken that horrible, horrible tragedy, and she has turned it into a purpose where she is extremely active in trying to make changes in the school system to protect our children. She's an amazing woman. Listen to the second part of her interview right now.
Welcome back. So I know one of the next states that you are trying to get Alyssa's Law passed in is in Texas. Tell us about your efforts there.
So I'm working with Rep Theory in Texas to try to pass Alyssa's Law there. So the governor of Texas already allocated $17.1 million for panic buttons in schools. So schools can now implement their panic button before the actual start of the school year.
Oh, great.
Then once the legislative process starts, Rep Theory will be working to get Alyssa's Law passed into law in Texas.
Okay, that's wonderful. And I know at the federal level, you are working on the Make Our Schools Safer. What else is happening at the federal level?
So, school safety is so important that we implement many different school safety layers and tips, and also that states learn from the amazing pieces of legislation like the Marjorie Stoneman Douglass Act that was passed in Florida, and that they implement these types of laws or school safety measures in their states, and that we learn from the tragedies that happened at Robb Elementary School and Marjorie Stoneman Douglass High School, where people died, and like my daughter Alyssa died in these schools, but that we learn from these mistakes so that we should be implementing see something, say something. There's so much violence and tragedy that we have prevented from Fortify Florida, see something, say something, and we've prevented these tragedies from happening. We need to make sure that schools are doing behavioral threat assessments, that there's a team that comes together. If someone says that they're going to shoot up a school, this team is made up of law enforcement, a mental health person, teacher, administrator, and they decide whether this is a credible threat or not. And then if this student needs different types of services to help them so that we make sure that they don't commit these acts of violence. And so these are two ways that we can layer in these different school safety measures. Also, we need to make sure that there is a family reunification center. And this is something that Florida did put into law this last legislative session. And so that schools have a plan that in a mass tragedy that families know where to go. And there is this reunification center. Make Our School Safe, my nonprofit organization, we should have Make Our School Safe clubs in high schools where students can help to create a culture of safety within their school by starting their club. And we're working with I2P and Homeland Security to do a school safety project with these clubs so that they create that culture of safety within their school. And we would be totally awesome if you want to start a club at your high school. You can go to our website, makeourschoolsafe.org, and we would send you more information about starting a club at your school.
So go to makeourschoolsafe.org to get more information about starting a safety school, or safety club, excuse me. So in the safety clubs, what do the kids do? What do they focus on?
So their main focus is they're starting this school safety project. So they develop what that project looks like, and they work with I2P to bring that project together. And this year, it wasn't one of our clubs, but there was schools that actually, they went to the White House. They were given an award for their safety project. But if all the students are embraced and involved with the safety at their school, they know what's going on. They see on their Snapchat, who's making a threat. We want to empower our students. If they see something, say something, and report it on a tip line so we can make sure that students, law enforcement goes to their house, make sure they don't have access to guns or weapons.
That's a great idea, because I can imagine for students when they see something, maybe there's a fear about going to school administration. But if there's a club and they have an access point of maybe other students or teachers that they could go to initially, they might be more likely to report a suspicion.
Yes.
You were mentioning something about I2P. Could you tell us what that is?
So it's an organization called Invent to Prevent, and they work with the McCain Institute and Homeland Security to create these safety projects, because if we can create these projects that the students come up with, it's all of their ideas, then we can create a safer environment and prevent violence from happening in their school.
I have to tell you, I know you said that you are Alyssa's voice, and it sounds like Alyssa's voice is very loud and powerful. Running for school board, being elected to the school board to make local change, getting change made at a state level, and now hopefully at a national level, that's incredible. I know the big project is getting Alyssa's law passed in other states and also at the federal level. Is there anything else that you're working on right now?
Right now, my focus is my reelection campaign to be reelected to the school board, District 4. And, we're going to be revving up for the start of the school year again. So getting the kids ready for school is what I'm currently working on.
Well, you are doing such great work, and we certainly support you and your efforts, and I hope everybody watching will go to your websites and look up the information and get more involved. Could you tell us again any websites people can go to for more information?
Yes, makeourschoolsafe.org, and you can follow me on Twitter, Lori Alhadeff, or also on Facebook, Make Our School Safe 17.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Wow.
Wow, she's an incredible woman. And this show is called Come Back Stronger. What really strikes me about Lori is her incredible strength. Yeah. And that strength is coming from her daughter, Alyssa. And it's just fascinating to me how you see how Kimmy would try to drag out her story to make it about Lori.
Yeah.
Tell us about your pain and your struggle and what you've been through and how and she completely diverted the issue, and she didn't want to talk about herself. She wanted to talk about what she's doing to make changes in the world. She's purpose driven, and she's very, very strong in her purpose.
Yeah, it to me is probably very much like what the children are feeling like, the students are feeling like whenever it's not just drills. I was telling somebody the other day when I was in school, our drills were stop, drop, and roll. The worst thing that was going to happen to me was I was maybe going to get in a school fire, or maybe, in the Midwest you might have a twister, tornado drill, or maybe, we should have enough time to get out before a hurricane comes around here, but you never know. But I just imagine a little kid in a drill that says, okay, when someone comes in is going to try to murder you with a gun or whatever, this is what you do. And if you ever watch these things, you ever watched a drill where these kids go, these shooter drills? It's amazing. They know what to do. They know exactly what to do, and they're so compliant. They mind you at that age, and they go exactly where they're supposed to go. They learn how to turn a stapler into a weapon, those sorts of things. But I think to myself, what a great thing she's doing in involving the children in the solution, because it makes them, I would imagine it's empowering for them to feel like they have a say and to keeping themselves safe, to form these clubs and to get excited about helping other people watch out for each other, maybe pay attention to that kid's being bullied and tell somebody about it instead of laughing at him with your friends behind his back. I think it's going to turn our children into more empathetic and not make them feel weak and powerless over their situation. I think they're going to develop empathy, and I think they're going to develop strength from it.
Well, it takes people like Lori that are, I'm sure she's sitting up at night just ruminating about solutions.
All the things people that could have gone different.
And people like Lori to come up with these ideas and strategies for making sure this doesn't happen, or minimizing the possibility that it'll happen again. So we're gonna go to a commercial break, and when we come back, we have a lot more to talk about, so stay tuned. I love nothing more than when a former client refers me a friend or a relative, because that shows me that they really appreciated what I was able to do for them.
And the thing that's most rewarding to me and the thing that I'm proudest about with this firm is that we truly do love our clients. I've got them in my phone. I follow them on social media. I celebrate when they have their grandbabies or when they change jobs or when they have, their first baby. And that's real. And it's so rewarding from a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint. And I think that realness and that relationship helps us make their cases so much better too.
100%.
They're not just another number to us. They're not just a cog in the wheel. They're not just a way for us to make a living. It's just a way for us to have better lives ourselves by getting to know so many clients and helping them.
I think that's why so many of our clients come back to us and send people that they love
That's true.
and know to us.
That's the best part.
It's the highest compliment you could give.
Welcome back to Come Back Stronger, where we just heard the story of Lori Alhadeff, who lost her 14-year-old daughter in a tragic school shooting in South Florida. She has come back to become a major activist to basically to promote the laws to make our children safe in their schools. And she has become a member of the school board. She ran for election. She's going for re-election. She's changed the law locally. She's changing the law nationally. She's an amazing
changing how
woman.
Schools are organized and it's just showing some school leadership and letting these children become part of the solution in this problem that they had no hand in making, but has been dropped in their lap. So many times when we talk about school shootings, what do we talk about? Two things, depending on what political side you're on: mental health or gun control.
Right.
Okay, there seems to be no intermediate ground. You pick a camp, you stay in it, and then you just fight. And you talk about philosophical differences, you talk about statistics, you compare us to other countries. It's not keeping the kids safe. The rhetoric
But Lori
is not doing anything.
has transcended that.
Yes.
She is taking it to a whole different level, and she's saying, look, those are not the only solutions. Yes, there's something to talk about, but she's trying to come up with real practical solutions, thinking outside the box, like, for example, the panic button. Got $17.1 million put into Texas school system for these panic. Isn't that phenomenal?
Well, I know it's been passed in New Jersey, and she's trying to get it passed in Texas. But anything moves the ball down the field. I mean, you're not going to get everything you want. It's just a political non-reality in our country. So we've got to look for other solutions, and we've got to look at people like that and listen to her, listen to the children, listen to the students, listen to the teachers, listen to the people whose lives are literally in danger, and listen to somebody who's experienced the worst possible day of her life, and she's still decided we could do better and we should.
Yeah, 100%. That's the essence of a great comeback story, is that you take the pain that you've gone through and turn it into a purpose. That is exactly what Lori Alhadeff has done. She's gone to change the world, to make this world a better place. So stay tuned next week, or tune in next week, because we're going to come to you with another great comeback story, and we look forward to seeing you then.
You know what I tell my clients is that Come Back Stronger is not just a slogan, it's a game plan. Yes. Because in order to get you fair compensation, we have to prove to the insurance company that you are doing everything you can to get better.
Yes.
And when you do everything you can to get better, if you're still hurting, then insurance company, you better pay. Because we want to make you whole. So it's not just an idea of let's make you better after this horrible thing happened, it's a plan to make you better.